how has the Amazon movement, which was only a little over a year ago,
Right.
and the movement to protect so many different immigrant groups who have been under patrol by ICE in partnership with Amazon, how has that framed your race?
Yeah, I mean, I look back at the corporate greed that's literally killed members of my family. I look back at the immigrants in my family, and this is all very personal. Today it's Amazon. Tomorrow it could be another company that's abusing and exploiting its workers. And this is how billionaires exist. I always like to say, you have not earned $1 billion, you've exploited it. And the fact that Jeff Bezos is well on his way to becoming the world's first trillionaire in the middle of when millions of Americans are losing their jobs, and he has asked for donations so that he can give his workers benefits and time off. It's that's how you become a billionaire, is you cheat people.
Right.
And we haven't taxed him or the billionaire class or these huge corporations their fair share. And when I look at Amazon and what almost happened in Long Island City, which is my neighborhood, I think about the fact that our politicians were so ready to just roll out this red carpet and throw all these incentives at Amazon so that they would come. They want to be here anyway. Yeah. And we have to, as New Yorkers, understand these multinational companies want to be here. So what are they going to do for us?
Right.
Nobody asked that question. And this quote of them bringing 25,000 jobs to the city, they were literally going to bring 25,000 people to the city. Exactly. And plop them down in the middle of Long Island City and raise the rent prices, and everyone would get smushed into the same subway that's already crumbling. Right. So that I didn't see my representative fight on our behalf. I saw our neighboring district representative fight against that deal, and I'm glad she did, because I don't think that I would be able to afford to live in my district if that had happened.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Long Island City is the fastest growing city in America right now. I don't think people understand. So you have an Amazon headquarters that's plopping down with, which is, I remember saying this before, that it's a real estate deal. So what people didn't realize is this Amazon deal happened behind closed doors, which was illegal in New York. You didn't get community support. But then there were council members who approved zoning so that all these high luxury apartments could pop up around Amazon, which were being sold to Amazon workers that you just talked about. So what happens to a community that's there? The community that's already been starved of resources, the community that is living in a food desert, which has, like you just said, you have a subway that's crumbling, that they're already dealing with just basic transportation issues. And then suddenly their cost of living goes up. I mean, if it's affecting everybody, we have a real problem. If it's affecting, it's gone so past the point of, I mean, we are so past the tipping point at this point that it's ridiculous to me that we don't see our Democratic lawmakers, because this is New York City, stepping up to such egregious deals. Or opening up the red carpet to it. I mean, it's not even that. They're signing onto the deals and going to welcoming parties.
Yes. And I just, out of morbid curiosity, looked at a lot of their donations, and Amazon PAC is there. Amazon threw money at a lot of the people that signed their name to the letter, giving them all these incentives. And that's how this works. And it's also why I'm fighting for publicly financed federal elections. And whenever we look at my opponent, who's like, literally, she's like, why are people protesting jobs? I'll tell you why. I've had the privilege of speaking with Chris Smalls, who was fired from his job at Amazon for standing up for the safety of his coworkers. That's why people are protesting Amazon jobs and why we aren't willing to roll out the red carpet for them. And whenever you talk about wanting to bring jobs to the district, why aren't you fighting for a federal jobs guarantee? Why aren't you fighting hard for a Green New Deal? Co-sponsoring isn't enough. You have to be advocating every single day, because there is a jobs guarantee as part of that framework. And that's a great way to bring jobs to the district, because people will be working to make sure that we're moving towards 100% renewable energy. That's a win for every single person.
So Lauren, there's a person in the race right now who ran last time, and I have been shocked to hear and see some advertising that has been targeted to me, because I live in the district, between Representative Maloney and Suraj Patel. Suraj Patel ran last time, and it's almost childish. It's like they're running for high school president or something. Yeah. He's going after her for being an anti-vaxxer, which is true, and she's going after him for being creepy because of many things that have happened. So can you just explain a little bit about what's going on with Suraj Patel, why people are resisting supporting him this time around versus last time?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's a shame that so much talk around this race has been about that kind of, I would call it, gossip. And I was just a voter last cycle, and I had a really tough choice to make, as did you and everyone else, because the same thing happened last time, a few days before the race. The comments that are being referenced that Suraj made about an underage woman came up. And as you know, I am a very staunch champion for gender equality and women's rights, and that really rubbed me the wrong way. And on the other hand, I'm running against Representative Maloney because I don't see her as the advocate that our district deserves. Mm-hmm. So I'm really dissatisfied with either of them, hence why I put my hat in the ring. And you're right. I mean, she has supported anti-vaccine legislation and has gone to rallies, and it's not a great thing to have supported that kind of rhetoric. And I do have a problem with the commentary that Suraj has said about underage women. And frankly, I don't see, this is the more important thing, is I don't see a vision from Representative Maloney. Like, what will you do with your next 2 years or 4 years? What is your vision for this district? Because if the last 27 years was your vision, it's not good.
What about Suraj? What is his vision right now for those who might be on the edge or followed him last time around?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of, we've been at some of these forums together, and I watch him answer questions in a way that is like, what do you guys want to hear from me? And frankly, I'm not sure what his vision is either.
Does he believe in Medicare for all, for instance? That's a great litmus test.
Okay. Yeah. So on paper, yes, but actually in our last debate, he brought up that he's proposed a compromise called Medicare for Kids. And this is the kind of thing that I fight my own party about, because the Democrats are always trying to figure out how to get more staunch conservatives on board with things that should be considered human rights. Mm. Healthcare is a human right. And why are we giving it only to kids when we should be giving it to everyone? And I think back on that man that I spoke with who was afraid that he'd have to live under a bridge. You're leaving people like him out. Yeah. And you're leaving people like my grandparents out, and you're leaving people like my neighbors out. And I'm fighting for them too. So I don't know why, if you're not even in Congress yet, what are you doing proposing compromises to things that we all deserve?
Well, my guess is he's probably accepting money from folks who are compromised and feeling pressure. He also comes from a very privileged background, correct? That's his, which, there can be privileged people who run and do very good things, but there's been a criticism that he is, putting a lot of his money into this race and comes from that type of money. And I think that's important to discuss. It shouldn't distract away from politics. But if you have policies and you come from privilege, then that is how you use your privilege. Fight for other people.
Yes.
But if you're using gimmicks and shielding the public from your privilege, which is essentially what I've seen in these, in his campaigning, then I think it's a concern. So
one of the things that we noticed is he does take maxed out donations, and by maxed out I mean double maxed out. So maxed out primary donation of $2,800, and then another maxed out $2,800 for the general election. So that inflates his numbers, and this is something that a lot of candidates do that have connections to people that can just drop $5,600 like that. And that's not something that our campaign has. And I don't have that kind of connection, which is why we are really proud to have earned over six figures of donations from $16 at a time, which is our average donation.
It's fantastic.
And thank you. And I think about the fact that last time he spent both his primary and general funds, but did not win the primary. So the general fund he had to take on as personal debt. So $300,000 his campaign overspent, and that's not a problem for him. So that's the kind of thing that, if your number one goal is to unseat Representative Carolyn Maloney, I would have really appreciated his support. And, we've been working really hard on the ground and knocking on doors since last March, and have just been growing and doing this in a grassroots way. But to come in with, some more maxed out donations and try this thing again and pretend that everyone who didn't vote for him last time will forget the reasons why, like myself. It's all a reminder of why I'm doing this. And I'm fighting for the everyday people that would see my campaign and think, yeah, she can do this. I could do this. And someday I hope more everyday people do challenge me. And that's how democracy should look, as I should always be on my toes and think, the next 2 years, I want to earn my place in Congress. And that seat belongs to the people. It doesn't belong to me. It doesn't belong to Representative Maloney. It doesn't belong to anyone but the district. So if I don't see that kind of fight and acknowledgement about the working class people, and about the fact that not all of us can just absorb $300,000 worth of debt, or Representative Maloney loaned herself $100,000 this cycle. Wow. I'm not running up against everyday people. I'm running for everyday people.
Lauren, that's crazy. A sitting member is using her money for her campaign. I mean, it just shows how much she wasn't expecting, even though she's been challenged several times the last few years. This is not her first challenge, and last time was not her first challenge. So it's kind of shocking that she wasn't prepared for this. Mm-hmm. Lauren, where can people learn about your race, and how can they help out? Your primary is June 23rd, for those of you who aren't aware.
Yes. So the last day to request your absentee ballot is June 16th. So it's really important. If you see this, you should vote. Even if it's not for me, but vote for me. June 16th, or do it right now. Go to nycabsentee.com, and it takes literally 20 seconds max. You just have to put in your name and address, and you get your absentee ballot in the mail. Use it, put it back in the mailbox, sign and date on the envelope, and your voice matters, your vote matters. And if you want to help us spread the word, go to act.laurenashcraft.com. And every single day we have shifts where we're reaching out to people of the district on the phone and via text message, if you want to help us do that. And also, we are grassroots, as I've discussed, and I don't have the $300,000 to just dump into my own campaign. So if you like the idea of an everyday person who has the same struggles as you representing this district, then $1 as a donation truly does make a difference, because we have thousands of donors, and together this is a movement, and we are fighting to get true representation in New York's 12th congressional district.
Awesome. Keep up the amazing work, Lauren. Very proud to be working with you and endorsing you. And someday, I'm not saying that like it's quid pro quo, but I hope that when you're in office, you remember and you come back on the show and talk about what it's like to be a progressive in Congress.
Oh my gosh, I thank you. I'm just really honored to have your support, and thank you for using this amazing platform to highlight grassroots progressive women.
You are listening and watching The Nomiki Show. Make sure to click subscribe and like and share to get those alerts on YouTube. And if you are not already, please join us on Patreon. It's our patrons who make this show happen. We are an independent media channel. What that means is that we don't have corporate stakeholders pushing us through the algorithms. We're not getting the likes and shares through bots. You guys are what makes this show function. So please, we invite you to join us on patreon.com/The Nomiki Show.